Joining me today, I have cyclist Tyler J. Ashton. He is originally from Port Coquitlam, BC, but he is in Manitoba as he is cycling across Canada. Tyler, thank you so much for coming down to the studio.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So before we get going, you are biking for a reason. What is that reason?
To raise funds and awareness for AS, Ankylosing Spondylitis. It's an autoimmune disease that I myself have, and the charity I'm partnered with, the Canadian Spondyloarthritis Association.
Okay, so tell me what AS is and how it affects you.
So AS is a disease of the spine. It's primarily based in inflammation. Worst case late stage prognosis is spinal fusion. It's not a pretty one. So unfortunately, it also comes with symptoms and other peripheral diseases as well. So for me, myself, I experienced lots of chronic fatigue, brain fog. So sometimes when I'm talking, I forget what I'm saying in the middle of the sentence, things like that. I personally have nerve pain down my right leg, it kind of adds up. The chronic fatigue is probably my worst enemy, and then you have the chronic pain every day, and inflammation is the main thing. So you wake up with morning stiffness, and it's really hard to move your hands, like tie your shoes, things like that. So yoga is key for me, keeping my body moving, and that's kind of how I landed on riding a bike is what can I do to help others and make it into a vehicle to do so.
Wow is all I can say. So this is a type of arthritis, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so I have arthritis in my knees, but if I move enough, I can keep the pain at bay. But if I don't move at all, then you have to find that sweet spot, I find. Is that like this at all or not really?
I mean, it is. You can overdo it. I like to kind of push that boundary and find out where it is every day. It's something I enjoy doing, so.
I like that you say you enjoy finding that line. That is not a lot of people would say that.
Well, pain's my game, right? I'm a personal coach, so having being able to deal with pain and effectively is kind of what I'm all about.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get into this bike ride. You're now here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. When did you start this? How has the ride been from Port Coquitlam to here?
So I started on March 1st at mile marker 0 on Vancouver Island, right next to the Terry Fox statue. It was kind of an ode to him. We came from the same hometown. I went to a high school named after him, so that was kind of really close to me. The ride's been good. Everyone I've come across in the community says I'm 2 months too early. I kind of thought that I would climb the Rockies and in the cool weather, and when I got to the other side, I'd roll into spring. But I've been learning, there's a saying here in the prairies, and everybody says that the winters come in like a lamb and they go like a lion. And I gotta say, it makes a whole lot of sense because I've sure been getting my head bit off the last few weeks.
Yeah, like the wind mostly?
Yeah, I had a day, it was like 60 to 70 kilometer an hour headwinds. It said wind gusts, but I was riding for over 7.5 hours. Those were not gusts. It was just consistent hammering winds. And there's been other days where they're up like 30 to 50 kilometers an hour. And, the funny thing is I had tailwinds when I left Medicine Hat. Before I hit the Saskatchewan border, they changed to headwinds, and I went through the entirety of Saskatchewan and into Manitoba with headwinds. And that day where I had the 70-kilometer headwinds was when I left Saskatchewan and went into Manitoba and crossed the border. So I said Saskatchewan didn't want to go with a fight, but Manitoba came in swinging, right? So.
Oh man, sorry about that. I would love to know, logistically, how do you get enough food? Do you have a team with you? Do you take days off? Where do you sleep? Tell me about all these things.
Okay, so that's a lot of questions all in one. There's a lot of different answers. So I guess to start, for sleeping, generally I like to tent. However, it's winter, and I left in winter, apparently. I really thought it'd be spring by now. So I've had to rely on kindness and generosity of strangers, which is huge, and that's sometimes how I eat as well. Some people just see me and my bike. They come up, ask questions when I'm getting a coffee. They'll offer to buy me breakfast or lunch. Sometimes it's $20 here or there, or an apple, an orange, banana. Everything makes an impact. So I've been very fortunate on my trip so far. There's been a lot of kind strangers that I've come across that have shown me generosity. And the cool part about that is the unexpected gift of gratitude that I get. And I practice that in times of despair, which really helps me cut through my pain.
I was going to say, I mean, you just touched on it a bit, but what have you found to be your greatest challenge? Because what would you call this ultra cycling? Like, I don't know how you...
Well, I would call myself an endurance athlete.
Okay. So endurance sports of any kind, there is a grind. There is this, all of a sudden, this deep, wow, I'm in a lot of pain. Can I push through? I know you were talking about being a coach, but like, what do you find helps you get out of those moments?
So there's a lot of mental techniques I use. I'm big on something called positive affirmations. I believe that those can help really cut through them. Everybody's different. Words are very powerful and they affect us in different ways. So having the right set of phrases or words can really help to push through those moments. But then there's times where the pain just escalates so much, those don't help. There's nothing you can do, but that's where I met that gift of gratitude. So I think about the people that have helped me all along the way, and that helps me push through. Like, I did an island trip before this where I did a figure eight around Vancouver Island, a little over 2,000 kilometers, climbed 54,000 meters, and that's the trip that showed me gratitude. Wow. It was truly special.
Do you have anyone back in Port Coquitlam that's kind of like cheering you on from the sidelines?
I mean, there's people from all around that cheer me on, which is really, really cool. I really appreciate their support.
Absolutely. You mentioned it already. You are from the town of Terry Fox. He happens to be a personal hero of mine. Do you feel any deep connection with what you're doing with what he did?
I don't like to compare. Like, he went through something that I couldn't imagine going through. So, I'm just grateful for his inspiration. I probably wouldn't have chosen to do something like this if that story didn't exist, right? So, that's the key part, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. How can people come alongside you and help out?
It'd be cool to have people follow me, but it's winter, so I don't think anybody's crazy enough to ride their bike this time of year. There is some people in the community, but yeah. But I do have a link tree, and that kind of houses all my links, my social media. I have a GoFundMe if you want to help me personally. If you see me on the road, feel free to come say hi. And then also, so for the charity, I have a website called electrifyes.ca that's made in partnership with them. So the donations on there go directly to them and help them out and all the wonderful things they're up to in the world as well.
Okay, we are going to have those links for all our listeners so they can easily access that. Where are you headed next from Winnipeg?
My next main stop, so I take an injection once a week. So I'm kind of always on a time schedule. I'm in town here to do a couple interviews and get my bike fixed. I had a rear rim that's cracking, so Raceface sent me out a rim. They're really awesome. They just shipped it and made it land here before I did. Nice. So I'll get that fixed today, and I'll be on the road tomorrow, headed towards Kenora as my next main town. And then after Kenora, the next 7 days, I will have to make it to Thunder Bay. So it's
that's a stretch.
Yeah, it becomes a very tight schedule through Ontario. I know there's some days that are closer to 800 kilometers, or some weeks, sorry. So I'm riding every day, and there's definitely minimums on my days. So
for sure,
it sets the bar.
Wow, I'm inspired by you. I think this is an incredible feat, and I really appreciate you making time for us today. We're going to let all our listeners know about this. Is there anything else that you want to share?
No, just thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.